and welcome to Mi Cultura podcast. This is Hazel. For those that are new to the channel or just looking at the videos, thank you for watching, taking some time. So today's episode, I named it Mi Kruda, Realidad, right? And what I'll be doing is I'm going to be talking a little bit about my experience and my journey with my mental health so that you all understand why I'm making this podcast and why I pick the topics that I pick. I also know that a lot of people go through a lot of things. So, I'm not trying to take away anything from anyone or say that I've gone through more than someone else. We all go through something. And so the main point of this is to let you know that you're not alone, that you really have other people that go through similar things as you. It's okay to sometimes be low, up, that's just part of life in a way. Also, I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. I don't want any pity. If I'm sharing my story, it's because I want to, again, kind of let you all know why this is important to me. And I had said in the other episode that I wasn't going to talk about myself, that I wasn't going to talk so much about me. It was going to be more about the topics, but I realized that if I don't talk about the topics, then I'm not going to really be able to let my own feelings out and use this space to actually let it out and really be vulnerable. And I think that's really hard for some people to really admit certain things. It sure has been for me. The first thing that we're going to talk about is a little bit about myself and growing up so that you all understand where I'm coming from. We got here in July and I was going to turn 7 in September. So if you were to ask me what I remember about my childhood in Mexico or even my early childhood here, I wouldn't be able to tell you because I don't really remember. And I don't know if that was just the the sudden change or the culture shock that I went through, but I just don't remember anything. My brother is always like, hey, do you remember this? And I'm like, no, I barely remember what I did yesterday. But anyways, so obviously being the only girl, the oldest, and having to go into a school system that my parents knew nothing about, they became very overprotective, which now I'm a parent and I understand. But I also understand that they were doing those things because they were in a new country. They didn't really know what the culture was here, right? So obviously, siempre digo, they did the best they could with the information they had, right? And I thank them for that because, obviously that was their way of protecting me, and that was the way of taking care of me. And so, that's what it is. Anyways, fast forward to a couple years in, growing up, we had to do a lot of translation and interpreting for our parents. So now that we're older, we're kind of damn, why were we even doing that? We were just kids, So I did that a lot with my parents. In my teens, we all do things, right? But in my teens, that's when I kind of started going through the first changes in my mental health. I think that from being so overly protected, the minute that I got to experience the minute that I got to do new things and experience different things, I was kind of oh my god, the world, I just want to go and do what So I really made some mistakes when I was younger, and especially they were mistakes that didn't only end up affecting me, but they affected my family, they affected my brothers and things like that. So for a really long time, I felt guilty. So that kind of started the cycle of me feeling bad about myself and not having any self-confidence. Fast forward to my teen years as well. I went through one of the most traumatic things a teenager can go through, and that is domestic violence. Now, at that time, I didn't know that it was, abuse. I didn't know that I was even in it. And I'm talking about physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, like you name it. And obviously from all that trauma, I became very, even more doubtful of my self-worth. I became even less confident on myself and my worth. And I didn't really know. I was, 16, 17. So again, now that I know what it was, obviously I want to talk to people, make sure that they don't go through it, whether that's in their teen years or, older in the relationship, or even like the kids witnessing it. So that's actually one of the reasons why I want to talk about domestic violence later on. And I remember that my pride wouldn't let me ask for help, right? So even though I was going through, like, literally I would have my arms bruised and things like that, I would hide it. I would hide it from my family. And more than anything, it was because I didn't want to have like a sense of failure. I didn't want to say, like, I didn't want them to be like, I told you so. Like, this, te dije, So I really kept that for a really, really long time. Y me acuerdo que when my mom told me one day, she was like, you know what? When you're ready to leave that, you're gonna come here, you're not even gonna be crying, you're gonna be just ready to, like, let it all go. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up just leaving that relationship, thankfully, and kind of just moving forward. And unfortunately, sometimes when you go through trauma and you just keep moving forward, you don't get to really release or, like, let out the pain or the stress that, or the trauma that put you through. I graduated from high school. I've always liked school, and then I tried going into college, like, right after high school, but because I didn't have like a legal status here, I couldn't. I actually remember one time my dad and I went into one of the schools and we just wanted to get information, right? And they closed the doors on us. So imagine, like, having the door just shut on you. It's like, no, you can't come in because you don't have an ID. Okay. Later, I was able to start going to the community college here in Delaware, and unfortunately, I wasted a lot of money because I was doing, like, self-pay. I wasn't eligible for FAFSA. I didn't even know about all that because obviously my parents didn't go to school here. They didn't know about grants. They didn't know about anything. I wasted a lot of time there because first I was going for nursing, then I changed it, and it was just like a kind of trial and error. Later on, I ended up going to a trade school just to become a medical assistant, and I have to thank my best friend for that because she was the reason I even went and got a full scholarship to go there. So I definitely appreciate her for really pulling me through and saying, like, we can do this. So we both went to school together, and we were able to start working in the same clinic. So that was like a whole journey. When I turned 21, I was pregnant with my daughter, and she's my only child. But obviously that was a big change in my life. Not so much because of, like, the parenting part, but it was like I knew I had to become responsible for someone, and that was, like, so much pressure because I always pressure myself either way. The relationship with the father didn't work, and we ended up going our separate ways, which is why I want to talk about co-parenting as well, and just the struggle of our generation becoming a single mom. I put a lot of pressure on myself because it was like either I was a mom or I was working. And so a lot of the times I felt really guilty because I would leave my daughter for a really long time because I was working, or if I needed an extra shift, or if I needed overtime. And I remember my mom telling me, like, you tienes que aprovechar este tiempo que está chiquita y like pasar tiempo. And I really tried, but it was either feed my daughter or be with her. And obviously I wanted to make sure she was good. So, you know, for a really long time I really felt guilty about that and about leaving her so much, but we're in a better place now. So hopefully, you know, it was something that was worth it. The reason why things didn't work out with the father of my child is because I wasn't ready to be someone submissive, and I wasn't like, I didn't believe in like male and female roles of like I have to work and you stay home, or you know, it was kind of like I was on my own. And unfortunately, like I did go through a couple of domestic violence situations with her dad as well, and I had to really make that decision of, am I staying in this because, you know, she needs her dad, or am I staying, or am I leaving because she needs both of us to be well? And so it was a really tough decision. But of course, like having a little girl, you have to make sure that you give them the best example, and that was the decision that I ended up taking, was to become a single mom. So think about it this way. For a really long time I went through a lot of things and I never really got to talk about it. And if anything, instead of, you know, getting help, I kind of just started drinking, or I started going out. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it was definitely my way of escaping my truth, my self-doubt, and the guilt that I felt, the way that, you know, I really was unhappy with the way my life was going. I really lost myself, I would say. But I ended up getting a apartment by myself. My first apartment I don't really like. I felt like it wasn't a home for my daughter. There was days that she didn't want to come home with me, and it was very depressing and sad because I'm like, why is, you know, my child not wanting to come home, and why do they not want to like be with me? But of course that was like the change from being with my parents, us living with them, to me and her living alone. So that really hurt me, and I felt even more guilty. Same year I ended up getting pregnant, and I unfortunately lost the baby. So in my head I was like, oh my god, like, you know, like I lost and I'm losing my kids, or both my children, or whatever. And I felt so bad about myself. Continued drinking, continued going out, and it was just not nice, you know? I was able to move to another apartment where I can say I really like lost myself, right? Not in a bad way, like I didn't do anything like really bad, but I definitely had really bad moments where like I didn't want to clean, I didn't want to you know, take care of the apartment, and I still felt like I wasn't providing my daughter with a home, even though she was entirely happy. So I really felt like, you know, I lost who I was there. But I also found myself in that apartment. So I was able to really move forward and really become proud of what I had accomplished. There's a specific time where I remember that I was by myself because that weekend she had gone with her dad, and I was wearing the blue pajamas my brother and sister-in-law gave me, and I just remember this sense of peace. It was like something so relaxing to just like be home, have a clean home, have a like safe space, and That's actually when I started getting into plans. So, you know, it was a time where it just literally made me feel a peace that I had never felt. Right when I think like things are doing good and I'm starting to feel better and I'm like starting to slow down on my drinking and, you know, really trying to work on myself. February of 2022, my apartment caught fire. Now, disclaimer, you know, like nothing happened, nobody got hurt. Thankfully, my daughter wasn't there. She was with her dad that weekend too. So, you know, it was really good because she didn't have to go through that, and she didn't have to see like her home just go. But in my head, I was like, oh my God, I just lost everything. You know, thankfully that day, like I wasn't sitting there like, oh my God, where am I gonna go? Like I knew my parents would take us in and everything would be okay. So I can only imagine other people going through certain situations like this and then not having anyone to go to. Like I'm very blessed and lucky and fortunate to have a family that's very supportive. And during the time, I would like make fun of it, right? Like I would just make jokes about dumb things, right? And I didn't accept it. Like I didn't understand. Like I didn't understand the actual loss I had lived. You know, like yeah, nobody got hurt, but I lost like my safe space. I lost the place where I had built it from like not having, you know, anyone help me and being able to feel like I was providing a home for my daughter and that I was getting better. So it literally, you know, really affected me because I felt like I was 10 steps backwards again. Later in April, I was able to move into a new apartment, which I'm very blessed and I am thankful because yes, I have a home where my daughter, my partner, my dogs are doing just fine. But there's a sense of me that was like, this doesn't feel like home. This doesn't feel like I don't belong here. I don't feel safe. I don't feel that peace. I don't feel comfortable. And it really took a toll on me. But what happened was that I never realized that I didn't ever live my grief. So here we are 6 months later, and it really hit me this time. Like, holy shit, you lost everything. You know, like, now the apartment basically, thankfully, again, nothing happened to anyone, but it got very like smoked up, and so everything was basically unusable. I lost a lot of clothes, I lost shoes, I lost everything down to like my microwave, my pictures on my wall, and I would go back in there and I would see all the things that I lost. And one of the biggest times was when I went in there and they had pulled out all the carpet, but all my stuff were like kind of like piled up, and it was just like my life was right there and it was trash now. A lot of times I was told that I should be grateful and that, you know, things would get better, but I didn't see it that way. I saw it more as maybe this is what I got for everything I had done when I was younger. Here I go again, you know, blaming myself for something that naturally happened. But fast forward to now, I'm doing really good. You know, I have a home. Like I said, I have my daughter. I have a great partner. I have very supportive family, an amazing friends I should say, that really like stuck through and pulled me out of like what I was going through. But it took me a while to understand that I was grieving the loss of the apartment, and I was grieving the loss of my victories that I had there. So I think when I really realized it, like it started happening really slow. I started promoting the podcast and I was like ready to go. And it's funny because before the fire, literally like mid-January, my best friend and I, Jenny, had recorded an episode for the podcast. So I have an episode there that's just sitting there that I never edited because it was painful to see. I had a whole setup as well there, and you know, that's the time I had actually convinced her to do the podcast with me, and it just all went downhill. So eventually I decided that I was going to do the podcast again. Like, at first I promoted it but didn't do anything. Then I promoted it a little bit more and did that one episode. I literally couldn't find the motivation, I couldn't find the energy, I couldn't find the desire to want to keep moving forward. And the whole point of this podcast is for me to like help people that are going through it, and yet here I am going through it myself. When it really hit me that I needed help was when, I don't know if some of you saw that there was a big post, I even reposted it everywhere, a post about a girl kind of saying her last words to her partner, and basically saying she hoped that he could have met her in a better version of herself, that she's really tried to do this but it was just she couldn't anymore. But I think when she said that part of being a better version of yourself was when I was like, fuck, that's how I feel. Like, I feel like everyone that's in my life right now deserves so much more from me, and yet here I am being a depressed bitch. And I mean, I was like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to like leave. If I went to my mom's house, I would come right back. I really stopped taking care of myself, and you know, I wouldn't eat. So all the things that happen when you're like depressed happened. But when I saw that post, I sent it to my friend and I said, this is exactly how I feel. And obviously, like, that's where she was like, what the fuck, you know? So I had been going to therapy this entire time, but I had never really talked about like the grief. And sometimes people don't understand, like, grieving something isn't only when you grieve like a loss of a person. It's like a loss of anything that means that is valuable to you. And so to me, it was like I lost what I had worked for so hard. Me being alone and me being able to be independent really made me feel good about myself, because I could prove to my parents and my brothers and, you know, my family that I was changing and I was worth it, and I was capable of taking care of my daughter. Because for a really long time I didn't feel that way. Our culture, you know, our parents or our families before were kind of like, I know, yo no voy a ir, like, yo no estoy loca, or they really just didn't believe in therapy. There wasn't such thing, right? But it's been very helpful. It has to be someone that you really feel comfortable with, because you can't sit there and get a therapist or a counselor and you not be able to feel comfortable with sharing, you know, what you're really feeling and what you're really experiencing. So it does take a while maybe to find somebody that you really truly feel comfortable with, but once you do, just be honest. And I was able to really talk about how I felt defeated. This word defeated really got me, because yes, I was doing fine. Again, I just felt like I was doing so much better, and then it just all was gone. And I didn't start realizing till now. So then during this whole time, I was really hesitant to start the podcast again. Like, I was just like, maybe I'm just not cut out for it. But even if it doesn't go anywhere, like, I still wanted to at least be able to help one person and just let them be able to hear that they're not alone in certain situations. Depression or like your mental health wellness, it's like a roller coaster. There's days that you feel amazing and there's days that you're just like, what the fuck. So I think that that's been one of the biggest things. Is like I had to really accept my mental health and the way that it was really affecting my self-worth and really just how I felt towards living. It's like you don't want to take medication or you don't want to go to therapy, but if that's what you need in order for you to be good, then do it. I would always say, te tienes que querer tú antes de que alguien más te quiera. Y nunca entendí eso. Nunca de verdad entendí eso hasta que entendí que if I don't value myself, if I don't love myself for who I am, what I look like, what I bring to the table, then how can someone else do it? They're not going to. Because they know that you don't have those expectations. I just hope that this video helps you all understand a little bit about why I'm so big about wanting to do the podcast, and also the topics of like the reasons why I want to talk about what I want to talk about. Again, just because people go through it every day. So let's talk about it and let's feel uncomfortable. We have to feel uncomfortable to get through something that is difficult. Again, I'm still a work in progress. And I hope that this is also my little safe space to share. If you have any questions or you just want to comment or let me know your story, just know I'm here. Whatever way we can help each other, like that's really what I want to accomplish here. Moving forward, of course, like I said, we're gonna talk about like a lot of serious like situations, but I'm hoping to have people on here so that we can laugh and we can really show our culture and how it is, how there's bad moments, but there's also really good moments, and we can later really reminisce and say, oh my god, we did it. Really looking forward to continuing this. I'm not a big expert. I don't think people who sometimes start a podcast are experts, so you might hear the echoes, you may hear whatever, but I just gotta get it started. Please make sure to comment, let me know what it is that you guys want to hear about, anything else that you would like us to really look into. I'm really looking forward to. I might do some vlogging just of like my life. I was told to record myself cooking, but that was a failure, so I'll probably put that up just for fun. I do know how to cook, I just don't like to. But anyways, I hope you all have a awesome day. And again, thank you very much for watching this video and taking some time out of your day to listen to my craziness y mi cruda realidad, right? But it is what it is, and we keep moving forward. We got this. Make sure to follow, subscribe, share, comment, I don't know, like it, and follow all the other pages as well. Make sure to take care of yourself. Bye everyone.